There is a tension that exists in all human interactions, subtle but unmistakable. It is the feeling that something does not quite align, that words do not fully match reality, that appearances are carefully constructed and yet somehow unstable. Most people have experienced this at some point, the gnawing sense that a story being told, whether by someone else or even by themselves, feels off. Lies, no matter how carefully constructed, carry a kind of weight that the mind cannot ignore. They are fundamentally incompatible with truth because reality has a structure, a rhythm, and a coherence that cannot be fully fabricated. When someone tells a lie, the lie may fit for a moment, but over time it begins to wobble. There are small signals, subtle inconsistencies, the almost imperceptible cracks in tone, expression, timing, and logic. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance, the inner friction that arises when what we claim or believe conflicts with what we actually perceive, know, or feel. People who lie often find themselves trapped by the complexity of maintaining the facade. Each new falsehood requires alignment with previous falsehoods. Each claim demands mental bookkeeping, careful attention to avoid contradictions. This is why lies are exhausting. They require constant vigilance. And yet, even with the utmost care, the unconscious always leaks truth. Micro-expressions, hesitations, or unintentional word choices betray what the conscious mind tries to hide. The remarkable thing is that the observer often senses this unconsciously. Humans are wired to detect incongruence because social cohesion depends on trust. When lies are detected, even subtly, relationships, reputation, and influence are immediately affected. This is why lies never truly fit. They are forced, synthetic, and alien to the natural flow of interaction. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of authenticity, not only because it is moral but because it is functional psychologically. The psyche can accommodate falsehoods temporarily, but this comes at a cost. Anxiety, stress, guilt, and a subtle but pervasive sense of being out of alignment accumulate over time. Those who habitually lie experience an internal fragmentation. The self becomes compartmentalized. Part of the mind maintains the false narrative while another part observes the disparity. And this division drains energy, attention, and creativity. Conversely, honesty, even when difficult, is congruent with the structure of the mind. Truth aligns with perception, memory, and emotion. It allows the psyche to integrate experiences rather than fragment them. Creates coherence. When you are truthful, your energy is not spent maintaining facades. It can be directed toward growth, learning, and connection. Lies may offer short-term advantages, avoiding conflict, gaining approval, hiding vulnerability, but the cost is invisibly compounding. The mind senses the misalignment. Subtle psychosomatic responses occur. Tension in the body, fatigue, unease, and even recurring patterns of failure or miscommunication. The universe, if one believes in synchronicity, responds to authenticity. What is real resonates and attracts circumstances, opportunities, and relationships that fit. What is false repels or collapses over time because it cannot integrate naturally. Lies are inherently unsustainable because they exist outside the natural architecture of perception and consequence. They demand constant maintenance and energy, and yet they are never fully insulated from the truth they attempt to hide. This is why even the most convincing lies eventually unravel. People sense incongruence before they can articulate it. Intuition, pattern recognition, and social perception detect what the conscious mind cannot immediately explain. Therefore, anyone seeking lasting success, meaningful relationships, or internal peace must understand this principle. Lies do not fit. They cannot occupy the same space as authenticity without creating tension. When you attempt to build a life on falsehoods, cracks appear, alignment falters, and you are forced to confront the reality you were attempting to avoid. Working in alignment with truth is not about perfection. It is about consistency, coherence, and integrity. It is about ensuring that your words, actions, and intentions harmonize rather than conflict. It allows for fluidity rather than tension, for trust rather than suspicion, for clarity rather than confusion. Jung described the process of individuation as the integration of conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. Lies prevent integration. They create separation, fragmentation, and inner conflict. Conversely, when you live authentically, even in small things, you build an internal architecture capable of sustaining growth, creativity, and meaningful connection. Lies may seem harmless or convenient in the short term, but over time, they accumulate consequences that manifest in subtle and overt ways. Misalignment between intention and reality, self-deception, and the erosion of trust are inevitable. Therefore, the practice of truthfulness, even when uncomfortable, is not just ethical. It is strategic. It preserves energy, builds credibility, and aligns internal systems in a way that allows momentum to form naturally. Lies, by contrast, never find harmony. They are always at odds with perception, consequence, and unconscious observation. People who understand this principle learn to navigate life with a quiet, deliberate honesty. They do not need to broadcast their virtue. The congruence of their internal and external worlds is evident in their actions, decisions, and outcomes. When lies attempt to enter such a system, they are detected and neutralized, often without explicit confrontation. The space for lies diminishes because the architecture of truth within the person leaves no room for incongruence. This principle applies not only to social interactions but also to personal ambitions. When you deceive yourself about your capabilities, intentions, or priorities, the internal dissonance manifests externally. Stalled progress, repeated mistakes, and subtle sabotage of your own objectives. Authenticity aligns internal energy with external reality, allowing focus, clarity, and opportunity to flow naturally. Lies distort perception, scatter attention, and invite unforeseen obstacles. The natural consequence is that, over time, only the truth finds coherence and sustainability. Therefore, to live effectively, influence meaningfully, and create lasting results, one must acknowledge this simple but profound principle. Lies never fit. They may appear to work temporarily, but the pressure of inconsistency, internal conflict, and external perception ensures that they eventually crumble. Integrity is not just a moral choice, it is a structural necessity for alignment, effectiveness, and psychological well-being. By embracing authenticity, even in the most mundane or difficult aspects of life, you construct a life in which everything has space to fit, including ambition, relationships, creativity, and personal fulfillment. Lies, no matter how clever, cannot occupy the same space. They are misaligned with reality, perception, and consequence. Therefore, the moment you commit to truthfulness, internally and externally, you remove resistance, preserve energy, and create a natural flow in which life begins to respond in harmony with your intentions. Lies don't fit, but truth builds a structure where everything aligns, grows, and flourishes naturally.